Hey Juventini, welcome back to the All Juve cast. I'm Alberto, and today we're going to talk about a deal Atalanta has just made and how does that affect Juventus. We're going to talk about Jorge and if Juventus is going to see him in Turin next week, and of course the ongoing Locatelli saga, and we get ready for Juve versus Monza today. All that on Juve today. All right, let's kick it out with this deal by Atalanta. They have signed young defender Lovato for 11 million euros. What does this mean? Does this mean that Romero is most likely being dealt? Will they still seek out Meri Demiral from Juventus, even though they just added Lovato for 11 million euros? We got to keep eyes on this. This obviously Juventus needs sales. They need some help here. But yeah, all eyes will be on Demiral and if he should stay or be going for Juventus this season. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Outside of Juventus, still looking at Barcelona, it is reported that Barcelona is looking at terminating Miralem Pjanic's contract outright. Which would mean that any team that should add him can negotiate their own wages and salary, and everything is completely out of the equation. So that's the latest coming out of Barcelona camp and Pjanic's camp. So interesting to see what happens there. Juventus reportedly will be paying 3.5 million euros to Santos to add their recently acquired player in terms of personal terms, of course, that were reached with Jorge. 3.5 million euros going to Santos for Juventus to see him in Turin next week. That's the latest coming out of that particular deal. Locatelli, of course, there was ongoing meetings yesterday, ongoing throughout the day, and it is still in limbo. But the reports, I'm not so much buying that this deal is 10 million euros off, which is what's being reported. I don't think it's so much the value. I think what it really comes down to is Juventus trying to stretch out that time. They're trying to get a 2-year loan. They're trying to get some incentives to be hit in order to make it obligation. Of course, if it's option, obligation, other things can be discussed at that particular time. I think they're just trying to stretch out that payment. Yeah, it's I understand fans' frustrations of not getting this deal done, but at the same time, I understand that there really hasn't been much of a rush until now because we do want Locatelli at camp being able to work with Allegri and the team as soon as possible. Of course, even if this deal was done during the Euros or prior to the Euros, he still wouldn't have been expected to get to camp until this Monday. So it really doesn't change anything in terms of the time if they got it done sooner or later. Sassuolo also trying to strong arm Juventus a little bit, but having no leverage. They have no leverage because the player has chosen Juventus and he has personal terms with Juventus. It's the same situation as Santos, really, and Jorge. I mean, they had a deal for double the amount of money, and Juventus stepped in, made terms with the player, and that's why we can add him sooner for only 3.5 million euros. You have the same type of scenario. Locatelli will go to Juventus or he will stay at Sassuolo. But I'm waiting for if there's a moment where the player starts to put pressure on Sassuolo to kind of make things happen as it's his wishes too. Do they want a player sticking around for the season that doesn't want to be there? We might get caught in the same scenario with Mathieu Perin and, of course, Meri Demiral. So players' will has to play into effect at some point as well. In terms of Juventus and getting this deal done, I've been locked in the whole time. There has been no rush up until now, and they did start to dial up the urgency. They will get it done. The tough thing is that people seem to forget so easily and so quickly that they needed to draw up a lot of capital going into this year, and they've literally sold nobody. They took even more hits. They had a 3 million euro bond that got chewed up by COVID that nobody saw coming. They have just been approved on another 400 million euro bond now coming out of JP Morgan, obviously the big firm out of North America. So there's 400 million euro bond coming in there. The latest news on the Super League is that there will be no repercussions and that they have not done anything illegal that UEFA can even punish Barca, Real, or Juventus for. There could potentially be some money coming their way, a lot of money coming their way from the teams that bailed on that binding contract too. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening here, but in terms of like actual sporting, when you look at the penalties through UEFA and FIFA fair play, like financial fair play, essentially you cannot spend more than you've made. And when you look at the big hits in revenue and you look at the bad contracts Juve's made for a while, like they've got themselves into quite a scenario, and nobody really, like nothing's been discussed as far as any leeway or what's going to happen coming out of this pandemic. So them trying to make these deals extended and do all this kind of makes sense because, again, nothing's been laid out or issued showing what teams can kind of get away with or whatnot. And why do you want to make that even worse, especially now that you've got a new management team coming in there and whatnot? So there's a lot of factors at play here. But again, Locatelli has always been their top target. They will get the deal done. And then again, they got Jorge coming in. This was always going to be a mercado that had very minimal moves made. The only things that could have changed whether or not there's a few extra moves are sales. But again, you've got some bad contracts and you've got some tough guys to move. And again, nobody else is paying, so while everybody wants to take a hit at Juventus and a lot of fans are getting frustrated, who out there is selling a lot of players? Nobody really. So it's just a product of COVID and the current market and everything, and it's just where it stands. You're seeing very, very minimal moves. It's been one of the most boring mercados, and it was honestly expected. So there you have it. But that's where kind of everything sits in terms of that Locatelli situation and Juve scenario. In terms of today, Juventus will face Monza, so we will have a match to watch. The expected line, and again, this game's going to be at noon Pacific Standard Time today. In terms of the lineups, you have Szczesny in goal, De Sciglio, De Ligt, Demiral, and Pellegrini across the back, Ranocchia, Ramsey, and Rabiot making up the midfield three, with Kulusevski, Briganti, and Sule up top. Expected 4-3-3. Of course, things could change, but that's what it's looking like. Ronaldo, Morata, Bentancur, Dybala, and McKennie will not be in the squad for the match today. But again, it's a Juve match day. Always fun. Look forward to watching these guys play and seeing Sule again. He was very, very impressive in the first game that they had that friendly a week ago. So very, very much excited to watch him play again. Of course, it'll be nice to see De Ligt back out there on the pitch. Demiral, be interesting to see Demiral, even though this is a friendly. Pellegrini, like to see Pellegrini. It's being stated that he should be sticking around this season to play second fiddle to Alexandro. Hopefully he can step his game up and maybe be a little bit of a competition. See what happens, but very much looking forward to this match. And we do have a Juventus birthday. Antonio Conte, ex-Juve player, of course, made a lot of Juventini upset with his move to Merda there and being their coach, but he wore this jersey, won the Champions League with Juventus, was a big, big part, and I have a lot of fond memories of him as a Juve player. So nonetheless, it is his birthday, and I will say buon compleanno, Antonio Conte. You pissed me off going to Inter, but you still have left some great, great memories for me as a Juventino. So that's the news for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. I will be coming to you remote for the next 2 days with Juve Today while I'll be out at the lake with my family, but I will not stop bringing you the news. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's all Juve. It's all the time. It's all Juve cast. Forza Juve fino alla fine. Ciao.